Hi, everyone. My name is Brittany Quimby, and I am the marketing director here at HITMC. And I'm joined today by Helen Shelton, who is the Chief Global Diversity Officer with Finn Partners, and Lori Rose Benson, who is the Executive Director and CEO at Hip Hop Public Health. And I'm joined by both of these ladies today because they were both part of a very successful and interesting campaign last year, which we will dive into in a little bit. But first, I thought that we would get to know the ladies a little bit before we dive into, what it was about their campaign that made it so successful, and winner of our 2021 Medigy HITMC Awards for Best Public Health Awareness Campaign. So first we'll go over to Helen. Helen, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? And at HITMC, we like to do one fun fact that people might not know about you or that's interesting that you can share with our listeners.
Absolutely. First of all, Brittany, thank you so much for having me. You and the editors at HITMC, everybody there. It's just been wonderful. Thank you so much for this recognition. Again, my name is Helen Shelton. I am the Global Chief Diversity Officer for Finn Partners, and I also oversee our multicultural marketing practice. One fun fact about me, though, even though I've spent a career and almost a lifetime in helping to raise awareness about issues and things that help support historically excluded communities, my background really is as a trained art historian. So I am a classically trained art historian, and I started my career really working in culture and the arts with museums, and had always had this interest in working in music and entertainment and figuring out a way to bridge the gap between how we take music and the arts and uplift communities. So I couldn't be happier to work with an organization like Hip Hop Public Health.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, welcome. Thank you for being here. And over to you, Lori Rose.
Sure. Well, Brittany, thank you for having me. On behalf of the whole Hip Hop Public Health team, we're just so honored by the support of HITMC and thrilled to tell the story. I have the pleasure of leading Hip Hop Public Health along with our founders, Dr. Olajide Williams from Columbia University Medical Center and Doug E. Fresh, the original beatboxer and hip hop icon. And we really, we harness the transformative power of music combined with art and science to promote health literacy, to inspire health behavior change, and to ultimately achieve health equity, particularly in communities of color. A fun fact about me, or maybe it's not so fun fact, but a recent fact is that while having the opportunity to lead this incredible organization, especially during this time of the dual pandemic, reckoning, a racial reckoning, and the COVID pandemic, I just went back to school. So I'm now studying for a Doctor of Public Health degree at Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, and I just started in June. So
wow,
it's going to be a fun ride. Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Thank you.
What a great accomplishment. Among everything that has happened, that is such a great accomplishment.
I'll get back to you in 5 years about the great.
Yeah, exactly.
We're just getting started, so thank you.
Well, we wish you all the best there for sure. And so you kind of mentioned a little bit about what you do, Lori Rose. So maybe we can kind of just get right into it. And, can you share, a little bit with our listeners what Hip Hop Public Health does and, what it's all about?
Sure. So, we use a model that we like to call the multisensory, multi-level health education model. And what that means is we look at people, we look at interpersonal connections, we look at communities, we look at policy, and then we layer on top of that music, and we like to use hip hop, I'll tell you why in a minute, culture, art, and science, the neuroscience of learning. So how you take something from working memory into short-term memory into long-term memory, and how music can really help you do that in a very impactful way. And we know that advertisers and marketers do such a good job of using music and multimedia to share lots of messaging, right? And so our founder, Dr. Williams, thought, well, what if we can do that for public health, right? All too often, public health messaging fails. And it fails because it does not connect culturally to the community that you want to connect with. It could be too judgmental. And how about we use something like music that if Dr. Williams was here, would say occupies more neural real estate than language itself in our brain. So it's easy to recall, it's very emotive. And so we create music videos, comic books, all sorts of multimedia with our transdisciplinary team. We work with A-list artists, public health experts, education experts, focus groups of 4th and 5th graders or whoever the target audience is, and layer in science-based messaging and the science of learning so that we can help take folks on a journey through health literacy so that they can have the knowledge, the skills, ultimately the behavior to make different decisions around various health behaviors.
Wow. And you know, what a great concept too, right? To be able to layer in all of those 3 elements into, you know, into public health and putting it out there to you know, your audience. I know with my kid, the only thing that works is singing a song to make him brush his teeth or eat anything. So that is, it actually does work.
It works. You know, it's how young people learn their ABCs.
Right.
It's how, you know, I know how a bill goes on Capitol Hill from Schoolhouse Rock when I was younger,
Right.
and I wasn't the biggest history, you know, or social studies, you know, in tuned person, which, you know, feel sorry about that now. But I mean, it is something that, you know, you'll remember the music from your first date.
Yes.
You know, it's very emotive, and it is able to be recalled in the brain in very different ways than if you just hear someone speak something. So we really harness the power of that, the alliteration, the rhythm, the rhyme, the cadence, the poetry. And I actually just do want to add, when it comes to hip hop, we specifically use that because it's about connecting with communities through the power of social justice, through communicating from a grassroots level. And hip hop was always about, from the very beginning, sharing with communities, sort of saying what's up, where it's at. And right now, hip hop is the #1 downloaded and consumed music genre around the country. And so why not leverage that to really inform decisions around public health?
Awesome. So incredible. And, you know, you kind of talk, you know, a little bit about hip hop public health, you know, but you know, we're here today to kind of talk about the campaign that you guys put together, which, you know, is obviously part of your organization. And, you know, as we talk about this campaign, it came out in a year that was quite different and life-changing for almost everybody on this planet. You know, so Helen, I'll ask you, can you give us highlight what the campaign Message in the Music, Spreading Love, Not COVID campaign was really about, you know, last year?
Absolutely. Well, that's it. I mean, the way we framed this, it literally was a message in the music at a time, to, as Lori said, when messaging failures were abounding and Black and brown people were dying at alarming rates, and not because the messaging was failing. And so the idea was to put together a music video PSA, a public service announcement using hip hop, a very simple message about washing your hands. And it didn't start out as a trilogy, actually. I literally met Lori, I don't know, late March maybe, and within 2 to 3 weeks, they had produced a phenomenal music video PSA that our job was to go out and spread the word as widely as we could. And that crescendoed and culminated in a second video and then a third video. And it became this sort of high impact trilogy of music videos that traced what was happening culturally and scientifically around the pandemic. And so this campaign, at the heart of it, really was addressing those messaging failures. And as communicators and marketers, our job was, how do we take this incredible video and resonate it with those communities and those media influencers and those people that are in a position to get the word out about washing your hands, about wearing a mask, and also ensuring that Latino audiences were also included in this. So at the heart of it really was relentless media relations, relentless social media, and relentless community mobilization. And, we have, just as Hip Hop Public Health utilizes science, we utilize the latest data in terms of media, understanding the media landscape. We literally were utilizing also the CDC tracker in terms of where this thing was going and where it was headed. And we literally tailored a lot of our media outreach in terms of where this thing was breaking, in terms of reaching people and making sure that media was aware, and that community leaders and other partners were aware to help us get the word out. So it was really a combination of traditional media relations, and we have an excellent social media partner, Mariam Bekele. She is the social media manager and marketing person for Hip Hop Public Health. And so we just work together seamlessly with Lori, with Dr. Williams, with the artists, and just put together this really comprehensive communications plan that was literally like triage.
Mm-hmm.
And that's brilliant. And we'll link. I know there's a few videos, but we'll link a few videos in the article so everybody can see this. Once they watch the video, because they are brilliant, and they do stick in your head, and it gets the message across. And so we'll link those for everybody so they can watch those as well. And we talk about this campaign, and obviously the impetus for this campaign was the global pandemic that we were all experiencing. But can you share a little bit about where the idea, or how you guys led to the birth of this campaign?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. It was right around the weekend when everything was shutting down in New York City, where Hip Hop Public Health is based. And Dr. Williams called up one of our composer producers, Artie Green, and just said, Artie, we got to do something. We didn't have funding for it. This is clearly not part of our strategic plan. And when you look at the data and you looked at the health behaviors that can help stop the spread, and what you can do that didn't cost anything, was really washing your hands, right? Mm-hmm. And then secondary behaviors about social distance and mask wearing at the time. And so something like the 27% of preventable infections, you could reduce that by 20% to 27% just by washing your hands, right? Mm-hmm. And so we said, we have to do something. The messaging is all mixed up. There are a lot of people that feel like this is not for them. It doesn't apply to them. If they're younger, if they're Black or brown, it doesn't make sense. So we have to do this, and we have to normalize this behavior. So we use all of our, ambassadors, our hip hop artists. Dougie Fresh led the way with the track with Artie Green, but then Doug reached out to his entire community. So we had everyone who works with us on a more regular basis, like DMC and Chuck D and Jordan Sparks and Ashanti, but then like everyone else in Doug's phone book was there. So from like Jamie Foxx and Reverend Run and like Cedric the Entertainer, and then we had civic leaders, and then we had families and doctors, and just showing how everybody's washing their hands. And everyone did this. I have some chills while I'm just thinking about this. Everyone did this in their own homes. Like every artist was locked down. Every doc was pretty much locked down, unless they were like Dr. Williams running a COVID unit and like experiencing the most death he's ever experienced in his entire career. And so this was all put together with like literally people in their pajamas, in their house clothes, just washing their hands, just sharing the love with everybody. And we put this together remotely with a company called Ideco Productions. And, there are people that we worked with, we never even met in person. And I would have to say, Helen and I met through a colleague and one of our advisory board members, now one of our team members, Melinda Gould. And Helen and Melinda went to school together. They're from the Dartmouth crew. And then Melinda also reached out to another colleague, Patty Doikos, who at the time was the director of the Bristol Myers Squibb Foundation. And literally within 7 days of Melinda reaching out to Patty, she said, Patty, I found this organization. They're doing such great work. Like, there's no resources for this. And literally the Bristol Myers Squibb Foundation, and then also the corporate side of the Black Organizational Leadership Development Employee Resource Group, and OLA, the Organization for Latino Achievement, all supported it, like within
right from the start.
Weeks, right from the start. And then literally, even as we were signing, our agreement, they're saying, so you're going to do it in Spanish too, right? And we're like, of course,
Yes,
we're going to do it in Spanish too. So even before we launched 20 Seconds or More, we were already thinking about 20 Segundos or Más, and then thinking about, okay, so Doug is our main person, but we need to remix the music. It can't just be a translation.
The same song, right?
It has to be culturally relevant. We recruited DJ Ted Smooth, who's the king of Latin hip hop remixes. He recruited other artists, and then just had all these other people, from Gloria Estefan to, everybody and anybody in this video washing their hands. It was just incredible. And so, this all came together very quickly. And as Helen said, I think Helen and I must have spoken multiple times daily from like March through August.
Yeah.
With 20 Seconds or More, 20 Segundos or Más. And then we launched Behind the Mask, which, even it's funny, Brittany, at the time, I was almost worried. We were a little worried that, well, did we get this Behind the Mask ballad out too late? Maybe everyone will really know what to do. And that was a year ago. It was August 11th, hip hop's birthday. And it was really such a political issue. That's when it was really picking up, and still is, right? And so we realized, no, it's just starting, and the messaging is even important, right now. So we feel like all of these health behaviors, we're hoping that everyone listening and watching are still going to keep washing their hands, wear their mask when it's appropriate, stay at a safe distance, so we can really support each other and support the communities that we love.
Totally. And, that is the beauty of this campaign. And for, anybody who hasn't seen the video, you had mentioned some of the people that are in, both videos, and just some of the celebrities who have, took the time out of their day, like you said, in their own homes to do this video in the turnaround time that was probably so tight to kind of get it out to the masses is just a beautiful thing. And, adding on top of that to this campaign is perfect what you said, that these these initiatives of washing your hands and wearing your mask, like you said, when appropriate, are still relevant a year and a half later, right? And so that's the greatness of this campaign, that it's still relevant this long after the launch, when not many campaigns can have that relevancy months and even years later. So it's such a beautiful thing.
Thank you.
It absolutely is. And it's timeless. And what my job was, as the person responsible for communicating this out, is making it continually finding refreshing ways to get the message out, looking at, did we leave a stone unturned in terms of the media? What are some of the trends that we could jump on? What are some of the news trends that we could jump on? What's happening in the marketplaces? So it just, and remember, we were not the only game in town in terms of trying to build awareness around these issues. But what gave us the sort of distinctive identity was the music itself. So the hooks from all three of these songs have now become part of the vernacular. If you say to somebody, wash your hands, everybody wash your hands, it is now part of the lexicon around COVID safety guidelines, COVID awareness, and it kind of snowballed, which is a good thing. And we couldn't be more proud of that. But this is real. People were losing their lives. People are still losing their lives, and this will never get old, simply because of the message in this music.
Mm-hmm. Brittany, if I could also add, Helen, you made me think about, one of the things that we love at Hip Hop Public Health, which maybe not everyone is always this open. We love to put the resources out there. We want to spread and scale it, and we want folks to adopt it and adapt it. So we put it out there. All of these resources that we create are for free. So we have over 150 health literacy resources, from all the COVID health behaviors to physical activity, hip hop dance breaks, to nutrition, so many different areas, and it's all available for free. And I'll give you an example. There's this school in New Jersey where this incredible teacher with her students who speak in American Sign Language took 20 seconds or more and redid the entire video with her entire class, signing and with closed captions in American Sign Language. And it was just so beautiful because it was tailoring it to their community, for their community, from their community. And that's where you get that cultural relevance and cultural connections. And we saw schools doing that across the country. Schools were using this as graduation projects, as family celebrations, as homework in health education and physical education that they can do with their family. And so that's what we love. And so we get a lot of ideas that people bring back to us. Can you do this? Can you translate it that way? But we also love to see how, in this day and age, how young people and communities can have agency over the content and even tailor it further within the community, within their block, within their school, within their community.
Wow, I bet that was wonderful. Wonderful to see, everybody kind of making it their own, right?
Yes.
And, so it's kind of, as we kind of talked, you had mentioned, you and Helen were, chatting 6 times a day or however many times a day during this campaign to successfully get it out to the masses. But I'm curious, what led you to work with Fin Partners and Helen and the team? What was where was the decision there to work with such a wonderful group over at Fin Partners?
I mean, I have to say that we are just really lucky. Like, we are so lucky that, Melinda Gould said, I have the perfect person for you to meet. You have to work with her. You have to, and we, Helen and I, we have still not met in person.
She's my best friend.
In person. And I mean, we've had hundreds of phone calls and Zooms and iMessage and everything in between. And so, we talked over the phone, we talked on Zoom. Helen embraced us right away. Throughout the journey with Fin Partners, the larger team has embraced us. We honored Helen and Melinda and Patty at our gala last year for all of the work that they've been doing collectively, and the Fin Partner team was there shouting it out. So we really been feeling the love, and I have to say, sometimes the universe just brings the right people at the right time, at the right moment together, because I don't think we ever would have planned that we would be working with the person who oversees, all of the multicultural content and spearheading all global diversity, just literally through a mere introduction of someone that we also just met, maybe 2 months prior.
Right.
So
wow.
It's, we're lucky.
Well, thank you so much for saying that, Lori, but I have to say that we are lucky. I am lucky. At Fin Partners, we literally are a firm with a heart and a conscience. And so, Peter Fin, who I report directly to, when he heard about this campaign, he was like, I don't care, about any money. I don't care what it is. I need you to put everything that you have with this, and we will throw behind this any resources that we possibly can. And it just turned out to be just one of those things. Like Lori said, it was just literally like the universe aligning. And I have to give a shout out to both Melinda Gould and Patty Doikos. The three of us, are college buddies. So we do have that Dartmouth connection. And again, in that also, I think, coming up in an academic environment where we were trained to try to make a difference in the wide, wide world. I mean, that's part of our signature song at our school, is making a difference in the wide, wide world. So it was something that just was, I guess you could say that it was kismet. I also think that it was just so necessary. This was something that was completely unprecedented. And nobody had time to be like, well, let me do the RFP. Lori wasn't like, can you get the RFP to me by the end of the day tomorrow, girl? She was just like, boom. She was like, so boom, these are the details. This is what we're doing. You know, here's the video. Okay, let's hit it. And we were like, okay, got it. And we just worked together. And I have to also shout out not only Lori, but Dr. Williams. He is literally a walking scientist, hip hop aficionado. But I said to him, I said, Jide, I need you to sum up the situation like in a quote or two. He wrote the most beautiful quote that contextualized the science behind this pandemic, woven the message about the importance of the music and the impact that this pandemic could potentially have and why this whole thing was so necessary. And I have to shout out Dougie Fresh, because not only did he open up, I'm dating myself, his Rolodex, but he also provided, Artie Green and the whole creative team, as Lori said, they provided the backbeat, the backbone for this whole campaign. And so my job was not easy in the sense that, like I said, it's always so difficult to kind of cut through the clamor, but this thing was so unprecedented that nobody really told us no in terms of the publicity.
Right. And, you kind of talked through, some of, the questions that, that we had in terms of what made it so successful. So, was it the, serendipitous of getting everybody together, you guys being friends and mentioning, to hip hop public health, whatever the dialogue was, but also, the founder of hip hop public health having, this, longing to get his message out there, his ideology out to the masses. But, if you could say in, one sentence or a couple sentences what the top 3 factors were of this campaign, what would you say would they be?
I mean, it's very hard for me to say just like one sentence, as you could tell, but I'm going to try. I would say it's about the quality of the content. It's about the science of the content, and it's about the relationships. It's really all about relationships, right? So the relationships that we have within our transdisciplinary team, the relationships that Helen has with so many media folks all around the country, in every place you could possibly, and she's like, oh yeah, I know that person. Oh, I went to school that with her. Oh yeah, I just spoke to them yesterday. The relationships that our artists opened up that we've never really asked them to before. The school relationships that we've been in the school space for decades. So all of the folks that kind of knew us for physical activity and health education and nutrition, all of the schools shut down, and they were really looking for great content that could support instruction, but to support everyone's personal health. So I think, I think that's more than 3 things, but those are the main things from my perspective. The quality of the content, the science behind it that we know is proven and evidence-based, and then the interpersonal relationships and organization relationships.
And Helen, would you agree?
I agree. And I mean, obviously this is a marketing and communications outlet. So I will say, to echo what Lori said, the content itself was good. But what was also important was that we kept our fingers on the pulse of where this thing was going, and just we literally were running a 24/7 news bureau. I mean, a lot of people say, well, that's PR 101. Well, no, it's not, because when you're up around the clock, and we're looking at the CDC tracker, and we're looking at the Nielsen data, and, and we're just, so it was the content, because if the content wasn't good, it didn't matter, because there was no real reason for anyone to necessarily jump on this just because I know the producer at the Joy Reid's show. But the quality, and when they saw it, the content spoke for itself. Now, you know, obviously it's a very competitive landscape, and yeah, we did have to do some work to get this thing out there. But again, we're talking about life and death. And also we were among the first to get out the fact that Black and brown communities were being disproportionately affected. And you know how we did it? Because we bet on the music itself. We bet on the music. Mm. I don't know how to rap. I don't know how to put together a video necessarily, but what we do know how to do is put together the right strategy from a communication standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, to make sure that we were representing hip hop public health in its most effective light and putting together the right people to do the interviews. We had a host of celebrities, but you know, there's a lot of demand on celebrity time. Well, we're very lucky that we have a founder in Dr. Williams. He's like a rock star, like hip hop doc expert, combined with people like Dougie Fresh, also the co-founder, but we also had DMC, we had Jordan Sparks. So, you know, it was not just a celebrity driven campaign. We did rely on our celebrities to do certain interviews and things, but again, it's back to the music. The content is supreme.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can see that too from the videos, which are, you know, you do get, you know, goosebumps, or you do get chills as you kind of see everybody coming together for this one cause. It's brilliant. And, you know, so we talk about the essence of the campaign and getting it out there, but we haven't really talked about the results of the campaign, which were also amazing. So maybe we can talk a little bit. I don't know if Helen or Lori want to go first, but we can talk a little bit about the incredible results that actually came out of this amazing campaign.
Okay, so what I clapped because part of this, again, this isn't just this, it has never been about a slick video series. This video series, as again, Lori said, these are people that literally took footage of themselves on their phones and submitted it. And IDECO did a brilliant job in turning these into videos that we were able to get out there and sell and promote. The results themselves were outstanding. Just from a traditional communication standpoint, you know, we're at about 400 million traditional earned media impressions, and I'm old school, so I still like a good media impression number, but also we were able to take this viral. So we had over 10 million shares and views of the videos. It literally took on a life in and of itself. So we had this communications objective, Brittany, but we also had the objective of what was our business objective. Hip Hop Public Health is still a fairly young nonprofit, right? So we saw this also as an opportunity to position this relatively young organization as at the forefront of driving awareness around health inequities, okay? And so what we were able to do was help them catch the eye of influencers and people that are in a position to make decisions for funding, for support, for adding additional resources that they needed and could use. And then finally, we had a real community objective, and we were able to work with them to get community organizations like the Universal Hip Hop Museum. Lori was able to connect that, and we were able to put together a wonderful program. We were also we had a presence at the Essence Music Festival. So we did a lot of things, multi-layered approaches to make these results stick. Because you can't save a life through a media impression, but you can save a life by encouraging people to change their behavior. And that's what we were able to do by taking this thing viral.
Amazing. And, you know, the results speak for itself in terms of impressions, but also, as we talked about previously, the longevity of what this campaign is doing, you know, to get those, you know, your initiatives or that public health recommendations out to your audience. And that will be, you know, long-standing for, you know, forever.
Yeah, and, you know, it's so important. You know, one of the things that we didn't talk about is that from a science standpoint, a lot of times our model is around a child-mediated health communication model. And so, you know, using music and using videos and also animation, sometimes that really helps get the young person's attention, but then when they come home and they tell their parent that they're learning how to properly wash their hands from Dougie Fresh, you know, the kid might like the music, but they're like, wait, Dougie, what? Dougie Fresh? And so there's a connection there. And so it wasn't, and this was a different kind of a campaign because we were sort of going out to everybody, but historically, and those that have worked with us before and used our resources, it's always been through the young people. And so young people continue to be the ambassadors. You know, they are the influencers when it comes to many, many health behaviors in their communities. And so continuing to empower them now, but also for the future is so important. And I'm sure all, you know, millions of young people around this country are you gonna, you know, when they're older, they'll be like, yep, wash your hands, everybody. And everybody, wash your hands. You know, it's not gonna go away.
Not. It's part of the vernacular, and that is what is so brilliant about this, is that hip hop public health is able to take those cultural references and turn it into resources that can literally transform people's lives. So even before 20 Seconds or More came out, the fact that they used the same hook, which is a universal hook, clap your hands, everybody, everybody clap your hands. You have to, I don't care if you're in China, Afghanistan, Harlem, the South Bronx, Forest Hills, Beverly Hills, you're gonna know that. And what they were able to do was take that and Doug was able to take that and turn it into a piece that was relevant to our times. And it's a timeless classic. And I couldn't be prouder to know that the feedback that we get from media and people that we're pitching is, wow, you know, that we're seeing it. This thing is everywhere. But nobody was like, well, it's everywhere, we're not going to cover it. Because again, this is life-saving information. This is not about, you know, a nice song. It is a nice song, but it's a delivery system that we needed to help to save people's lives.
Definitely. And, you know, I think this campaign has impacted so many people, as you mentioned. You know, it caught, you know, everybody's attention, our attention, you know, the world's attention. And so I'm just curious if you could think back on, you know, your time during this campaign. You know, can you think of a highlight, or what was the most impactful personally to you during this whole process? I'll start with Lori Rose.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to start with Helen. There's so many things now. Wow. One thing. I mean, it is really, you know, I think I've always operated on the notion that every crisis can be an opportunity. And you can't get more crisis than what we've all been going through collectively in some way more than others. And so to be able to work with so many people that are of that like-minded mindset, that are able to lead in ambiguity and with conviction about like what's right versus, you know, we just knew we had to get this out there. And so working with people that are also comfortable working without a roadmap and within the time, you know, in these complex situations and complex messaging and everything else that was going on in the world, and not knowing, you know, so much misinformation out there. So I think being able to work collaboratively in an ambiguous time with complex situations with people that were comfortable, you know, with ambiguity and turning an incredible crisis into an opportunity to educate and inspire others.
Helen?
Well, I think I'm just going to copy what Lori said. You know, it was an amazing act of collaboration right from the beginning. And, you know, honestly, like there was never a time when we didn't put our all into this. It was never a time when we even thought about, you know, billable hours, or we thought about, you know, well, what else can we do? We've done everything we could. Like there was no end date. There was no shelf life. There was no, we were like, what else can we do? Come on. We got to come on. We got to keep hitting it. We got to keep pushing it. And it was exciting because every time there was a development with this pandemic. When it first started, it was like, wow, people should wash their hands. And then when we came out with 20 Segundos o Más, the data showed that the Latino community, even though they're the biggest minority, really ethnic minority in our country, and they are also the largest ethnic population that was suffering from COVID. So we came out with 20 Segundos o Más. Then the data said around late August that, oh, if I don't remember the stat, Lori, that Dr. Williams gave us, but by last October, if, I don't know, 27% of people put on a mask, don't quote me on this statistic, you know, we could have make a significant dent in the spread of the virus. So it was like kismet. At every turn, we had an answer. And it wasn't like it was planned that way, but because this is an organization that is specially equipped to adapt to the environment and to come up with creative solutions to get culturally relevant messages and information out there, we had it. So it was just our job to lay on the piece on how do we get these resources out to the masses, and that's what we were able to do. And I think we did it pretty well, and it's still going on. I mean, we've opened up the door for a greater awareness about what hip hop public health is all about. And while everybody else is now, oh, wow, health inequities, let's get on top of it. They've been doing it since before it was a trending topic. You know, this is something that started out at Harlem Hospital, you know, in the early 2000s, and it has now grown into this amazing organization spearheaded by Dr. Williams, Lori, with all of these professional, creative people, the medical community. We have an advisory board member, Dr. Monique Hedman-Maxey. She also happens to be a rapper, and she appeared on our other video, not to plug it, Brittany, but you know me, our Community Immunity series, which is an animated COVID literacy campaign. So this campaign helped us to put hip hop public health really catapulted to the forefront of the national and global dialogue around COVID, but also around health inequities in particular.
Yeah, simply amazing. And so, you know, we've talked a little bit about, a lot about the campaign, and I have to ask this question because I ask everyone this question. So you did win the award for Best Public Awareness Campaign. And so I'm always just curious, you know, where were you when you found out, and how did you feel when you found out that you won the award? We'll start with Helen this time.
Well, okay, so I always tell this to Lori, I've never been a grab the mic type publicist. I've always worked behind the scenes. And so industry accolades, I love it when it happens because I don't actively seek them. So when my colleague Gil Bash was like, Helen, you know, we need to enter this into HITMC. I was like, okay. I mean, you know, we did the job, the client's happy, and we're still working with them. Thank God they still like us. That's enough of an award for me. But I did get the email, and I worked on the submission. You know, I did everything. We submitted it, and I just did it. And as my grandmother said, I gave it to God. I did it, and we submitted it, and that was it. On to business, you know. And I got the email saying that, you know, we were a finalist, and I was like, OMG. And I forwarded it on to Lori, and she was like, OMG. And we forwarded it to Mariam, and she was like, OMG.
And Dr. Williams says, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like it was just.
This is their, you know, they're in the health space. And honestly, like I said, I'm not a grab the mic type publicist. We may have been responsible for the communications, but without the messaging, without her sense of nuance and her sense of knowing her organization and what needs to be done, I was like, this is not a Finn Partners sole win. This is a hip hop public health win as much as it is a Finn Partners. So you know, and so anyway, the point is that it was very exciting and it was very touching, and you guys are seriously the authority for our industry, and I can't thank you enough for recognizing us. And I have to also shout out my colleague Goel Glenn Jasper in Israel, who got your Healthcare Marketing Executive Award this year as well. So it was a Finn year, but it was a Finn Hip Hop Public Health year, and we could not be more proud and grateful.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, and I'm actually speaking with Goel next week too. So I've only spoken with him a little, so it'll be nice to be able to
He
speak with
is
him a
a
little more.
wonderful, wonderful person. He's a great colleague and a good friend of mine.
Awesome. Well, I think we're nearing the end of our time here today. So we'll just kind of end it off on, one last note. This campaign came out at a time where, the world was uncertain, and nobody really knew what was happening next. We all had to pivot. We all had to pivot strategies, change strategies, and adapt at a time where it was probably pretty hard to adapt. So I want to ask you both, what is one thing that 2020 has taught you that you will remember going into, or remember years from now?
I think, okay, I'll start. I think the one thing that, the way you said that so eloquently, Brittany, about pivoting and adapting, I feel like we did pivot, but we didn't. We've always been about health equity. We're grounded in health equity, and it is so important to do what we felt was really right and at our core. And even at the beginning, we didn't even have the resources. We didn't have this long year strategic plan about it. But we did it because we felt like it was right. So being able to stay true to protecting communities, to supporting, health equity from a social justice lens, which I feel like just began to get unpacked. Many of us in the space know that there's been deep inequities for forever. Mm-hmm. And then when you look at the social determinants of health and everything else, and racism as a public health issue, we started to say our truths louder. And I think that was really important and only helped to drive the work forward, So I feel like that was pretty significant for us as we look back to 2020.
I would just add that as a communications professional, marketing person, the thing for me about 2020 is that it reminded me how important it is for all of us to use our talents, our resources to try to make a difference. I mean, this was truly an unprecedented set of circumstances in 2020, and it's going into 2021, and it doesn't look like it's slowing down at all. So it just being part of a community that was formed around this issue and having that responsibility it's heavy. And we take it very seriously. But it reminded us it reminded me of why I do this in the first place. So I've been very lucky to have a career, and I made a career out of trying to make a difference in people's lives. And this just, to me, brought home the importance of that. I don't have all the answers. We don't have we're not, the perfect agency on everything, but what we have is a determination and a commitment to wanting to make a difference. So to partner with an organization that has similar values was just a match made in heaven. And the work continues. We can't, and what do they say in hip hop, Lori? And we don't stop. We can't stop. We got to keep on.
Don't stop.
Amazing. And we are just so lucky to be able to, be in proximity of companies like Hip Hop Public Health and Fin Partners who are, doing these things and bringing these messages to the forefront, and us be able to kind of tell your story and, give a little insight or a peek behind the curtain about what this campaign was all about. So we really appreciate both of you and everyone, behind you on your teams. So we do have to end our time here, but I do want to thank you both so much for being here with us and sharing a little bit about this campaign with the community and our listeners. I know people are going to love it. I can't wait to be able to show them the video and some of the videos that we're talking about here today. Everybody had such a great things to say about this campaign, and I'm so glad that I got to interview both of you and find out more about it firsthand. So thank you so much for being here, both Lori Rose and Helen.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having us. It was our pleasure. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you, everybody, for listening. This is Brittany Quimby with HITMC. Have a great rest of your afternoon.